help me reach 500 subscribers at the party. The music was loud enough to blur conversations, but not loud enough to drown my thoughts. I stood there holding a glass I hadn't sipped, watching her laugh across the room. It wasn't the laugh that bothered me. It was who she was laughing with. Him. My ex. Or rather, her ex before she became my present. I hadn't planned to think about him that night. I hadn't planned to feel anything at all. But feelings don't ask for permission. They arrive, uninvited, and test how much control you really have. I told myself it was harmless. Old faces show up at old places. That's life. I told myself I was stronger than a memory. I told myself I trusted her. And for a few minutes I believed it. Then I saw the way her body leaned toward him, just slightly, the way people do when they forget who's watching. The way her smile softened. The way her eyes stayed a second longer than necessary. Nothing obvious. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to wake something uncomfortable inside me. We had arrived together. We were supposed to leave together. Somewhere between those 2 points, the night shifted. Friends drifted in and out of conversations. Drinks were refilled. Time loosened its grip. I stayed where I was, pretending not to notice how often she found herself near him. Pretending not to notice how natural it looked. Familiar. Easy. Like muscle memory. I remembered the stories she told me about their past. How intense it was. How it burned too fast. How it ended badly. I believed her when she said it was over. I still believe she meant it. But meaning something and mastering it are two different things. Old feelings don't die quietly. They wait. They hide. They listen for the right song, the right room, the right version of who you used to be. At one point, our eyes met across the room. She smiled at me. It was reassuring, practiced, safe. Then someone said something near her, and she laughed again, turning back toward him without thinking. That was the moment I felt it. Not jealousy. Not anger. Control slipping. Not hers. Mine. The urge to walk over, to interrupt, to remind everyone who I was to her. The urge to say something sharp, something final. I didn't move. I stayed exactly where I was. There's a strange power in stillness when everything inside you wants motion. I watched instead. I listened. I paid attention. Because moments like these tell you more than arguments ever could. People reveal themselves when they think no one is measuring. He said something. I didn't hear the words, but I saw the reaction. Her hand touched his arm. Lightly. Briefly. Could have meant nothing. Could have meant everything. The room felt warmer after that, heavier. I realized I was holding my breath. I let it go slowly and made a decision I didn't know I was capable of making. I wasn't going to compete with a memory. I wasn't going to fight a ghost. If something was resurfacing, forcing it back down wouldn't fix it. I wanted the truth, not reassurance. So I waited. I watched how long the conversation lasted. I watched who ended it. I watched whether she looked for me afterward. Minutes passed. Then more. People rotated. The music changed. The night kept going. She didn't look for me. Not once. That's when the feeling shifted again. It stopped being about him. It became about her. About us. About what happens when comfort turns into assumption, when trust becomes automatic instead of earned. Eventually, she walked back toward me, smiling like nothing had happened. She leaned in and asked if I was okay. The question sounded casual, but her eyes searched my face as if checking for damage. I told her I was fine. And I was fine enough to stay calm. Fine enough to remember everything I'd seen. She talked about how strange it was to run into old people from the past. She laughed it off, made it small. I nodded, let her speak. I didn't accuse. I didn't confront. I didn't need to. The night had already given me what I needed. Not proof of betrayal, but proof of vulnerability. And vulnerability, unmanaged, becomes a liability. When we left the party, the air outside felt colder, cleaner. She slipped her arm into mine like always. It felt familiar, grounding. But something had changed. Not loudly. Quietly. I knew that whatever old feelings had surged that night hadn't taken control. Not of her. Not yet. But they had reminded me of something important. Love isn't just about who you choose. It's about who you don't let have access to you anymore. It's about boundaries that hold even when nostalgia knocks. That night didn't end us. It didn't explode into drama or confessions. It did something more dangerous. It planted a question. And questions, once planted, don't stop growing. That was the night I realized control isn't proven by temptation avoided, but by what you do when temptation feels familiar. And as we drove home in silence, her hand in mine, I understood something else too. Some stories don't end at the party. They begin there.